All right, so we're on to section 2 of the integration of technology into the curriculum. Okay, so again, when we are using technology in the essence of materials and media in terms of appropriate instructional use, we as teachers, we should be, there's some fun that can be had, but again, we must be using the technology properly. So that means there should be some sort of reason behind it. So if your principal walks in or somebody walks in, they can go, hey, what's going on here? What's the Scooby-Doo here? So that's why if you can have the usage should be outcome related. And so you're not just playing around just for the poop and giggles of it. You're being educative, you're embraced into it, and you're engaged into it and creating those learning moments for your students so they can enhance their learning and become better students for tomorrow. Because they're not just playing around with Angry Birds or just making characters, they got to develop the content, the outcomes that are behind it. So to do that, like Sawyer says, you must do simpler tasks and procedures that should be simpler. They should be done first. So, grow your children from the bottom to build them up to give them the tools to be able to do more things. So understand, break it down for them, and basic to make it easy peasy so they can learn more. Simino also, he suggests in chapter 7, or they suggest in chapter 7, that there's things like project-based learning and stuff like this, which is a huge thing across the country towards people starting to gear towards project-based learning and getting in groups and making things kind of cross-curricular and make these projects flourish the learning because they learn well in these little groups and they can share and plant some seeds over here from this subject and maybe add it over to other subjects as well. So you must be also it allows you, they also state in chapter 7 that you will be evaluating outcomes and the student. So it allows with technology, you're able to integrate the outcomes on your database and be able to evaluate those so you can use your outcomes and make sure that your technology is using those outcomes. So also what Friesen and Jardin say, there was like a list of quotes, and one of them that stuck out to me was, we want to do work relevant, meaningful, and authentic. And that's the key selection in there is the word that I was like, whoa, I'm gonna put that in my word bank in my noggin, is authentic. So the work we must do is authentic. It's rich. It's fostering among the students into their learning, which is the most important / beneficial part of using the 21st century. So example is that it allows the students to use technology to reach the outcomes. So for example, when I was teaching back in the day, we had they could use for example, if they want to do a dance routine, they would have to use either their own technology and videotape it, or they had to do a commercial or something and they could incorporate the dance. So then the outcomes were in it because they have to present it in front of the class or perform with a partner and such of this, as well as the technology could be used for gymnastics, for learning, teaching cues and teaching each other, which is a big part of the leadership part of the physical education realm. So with those, the technology, like whether it's an iPad or computers, they can use things like YouTube or proper monitored situations where they can learn these types of things, not only just from you as the teacher, but kind of preload it with these other videos so they can see how it kind of looks as well for students their age. So those are some examples. Also with with tablets, the big part is that with assistive and adaptive technology, we can make huge accommodations to facilitate success and educational experiences for students with special needs or learning differences, because with tablets, you can develop ways to be able to read all the content. So you need to learn how to set that up as a teacher. Those are ways. Also for viewing or writing or listening, all these differentiated work will allow all the students to be inclusive and be able to learn at a great rate, as well as all the other all the other students, because we all have different ways of learning and we are all different learners. So this just helps us all be tooled into getting to the finish line. Help get us to all the finish line. So sometimes that might even mean differentiated work. So I can be like, boop, I could be there on my little iPad, scroll a little through things, and maybe I have a different test than you, or different quizzes, or different setups, and that even help with your IPP, because then no one will even really know, because you're just on. It's not like my test is thicker or smaller than yours, because we both have a screen, and I just kind of scroll through, and maybe there's some other little challenges or videos to keep education things to keep people entertained, while I'm still writing on perhaps a different type of a quiz or exam or some form of assessment. So that's where this whole 21st century learning also comes a huge part with the creating success for everybody, and everybody in the zoo is a big part. So again, it was about making connections between lesson planning, student learning, and technology integration. So a big part of your lesson plans is to try some things out, experiment, but again, make sure it's curriculum based. So that's the big part. So another huge quote that I like by Friesen and Jardin is teachers need to be coherent and supportive of programs of study that will not only allow but also encourage them to understand their work differently than the factory type model in their job. And in the 21st century, it is to introduce students into living fields of knowledge and the way of living in that living properly in that field. And it is to be for the students an example of what it means to be interested in and the ways of that place to support them as they learn and find their way around it. So that's why we got to find all these different tools from the toolbox, so when they go into the world, they can do that critical thinking, they can do that problem solving, they can rely on their body, they can rely on their partners, they can rely on their teachers, their superior employees, or their managers, or people throughout, to make the whole thing go around and make it a smooth riding bicycle. So you can use so that's a big part. And you can use things like QR codes or Twitter type feeds to, if you want to ask a question, to pose a question in class rather than raise a hand and like, hey Mr. Wolf, I know the answer. Everybody get an answer. Then everybody can kind of like type in their answer, and kind of you can go through the whole feed and kind of point out some things and see some good ideas and leave it anonymously. You guys just get similar to program as Top Hat, or like a cool program what group did was called Plickers. So you can scan the little QR code and see how your class is doing and assess them on their progress, which is really, really cool. And so also with the Mimio board, we learned tons of cool things about that. And then we'll get into section 3 more about the Mimio and those different types of technologies, as well as the smart board and stuff like that. So that's kind of how the integration of technology in the curriculum kind of works. So again, it's got to be curriculum based, maybe cross-curricular with those project-based learning type ideas like Cinema was, and then we're saying from the readings, and we should be all hunky-dory, moving on the right direction, and so we should be, we'll see you for part 3.